there, I'm Elizabeth, and I'm here to talk about all things size chart for your wedding gown. So hopefully you watched my previous video on how to measure yourself. We're going to use those measurements and we're going to apply them to the size chart. So you want to use the size chart for the designer where you're purchasing the dress. Today, we're going to use Montana Brooks size chart. All size charts are different for different designers. So make sure you have the right size chart for the right designer. Okay, so we're going to use my measurements and apply them to Montana Brooks. So I started with the bust, which came in at a 34.5 inches, which translated to a size 6 on the size chart. And then my waist was 27 inches, which came in at in between a size 6 and an 8, which we will talk about shortly. And then the hip came in at 37 inches, which was a size 4. So one thing, bridal is usually 2 to 3 sizes larger than your street size. So know that, that's just a bridal thing. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So based on my measurements where I was 6 to 8, 4, you'd almost always order the size 8, the larger number, and then bring in the dress to fit the rest of your frame. But because the 6 to 8 is determining the size of the dress, I always do a remeasure on every bride just to make sure. I want her to feel the difference between the two sizes. So we're gonna put the size 6, which is 26.5 inches. I measured it at 27. So 26.5 inches on the waist. This feels snug. Put it in the crease. This definitely feels snug to me. And then the 27.5 would be the size 8, which is looser. Feels better to me, makes more sense to me. So I would personally go with that size 8. And so with the understanding that I'm ordering the size 8, so my hip will have to come in and my bust will have to come in, which is totally normal. And know this, it's going to be less work for your seamstress to bring in the dress than to let it out. So if she's bringing it in, she does less work, that translates to less cost for you. So always want the bigger size as opposed to the smaller size. Let's say you ordered the smaller size and it's too snug. Or maybe you stress ate and you gained a little weight, so now things are not working. There is a seam allowance on the Montana Brooks dresses, a little bit of seam allowance on each side. But if you need more seam allowance, then we have there. One thing that you can do is add a panel to the side, which will open up the bust and the waist a little bit. It won't help with the hip, but just something that can be used, just a little tip for you. Also, if you are ordering a ball gowns have these fuller skirts in the hip area. So I actually never measure a hip when a bride is purchasing a ball gown. The hip does not come into play. So unless your hip is a huge size bigger than the rest of you, don't even worry about it. It's not going to come into play. If this was 2 sizes bigger, you wouldn't even notice. So just a couple tips for you. Hopefully all of that made sense. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.